I just continue to work. Time goes on and I'm back. First game against my old team. The rest is history from there. So it's like everything happened for a reason, man.
Kemba Hudley Walker, born May 8th, 1990. Young Kemba Walker was a problem. When it comes to point guards that handle the ball well, many bring up Kyrie Irving, but to me, Kemba was not far behind and a lot more efficient with his moves, making them not as flashy as, let's say, Kyrie Irving. But when it comes to point guards and the beauty they brought to ball handling, Kemba is top 5 in my opinion, along with Irving, Deron Williams, Baron Davis, and Allen Iverson. When speaking of New York, he might just have the crown. More than handles, prime Kemba was a deadly shooter, usually in the high 30s from 3, with a career high of 39.9 in 2016-17, the year he became an all-star for the first time. He was always in the tops in points in the paint, and his mid-range game was just as polished. A 3-level scorer, but what I liked most was he was a dog for sure. Killer instinct attribute bar all the way up and a badge to go with it. He wanted the challenge, and if he got the best of you, he let you know about it after. I always appreciated him as Michael Jordan's first star player under his tutelage because he reminded me of Michael, just a 5-foot whatever version. Like if Kemba was 6'6", he would be the best player in the league. He was a 4-time All-Star, All-NBA performer, and a winner in college in one of the all-time classic ways. The way he went out is not only a college basketball player's, but a New York point guard's dream. This was a guy that wasn't rated the best point guard leaving high school, selected 9th in the draft, 3rd point guard off the board, and took 5 years to finally become a star. But when he was one of the most exciting players in the league. That was prime Kemba. Then, everything changed almost instantly. He went from a career high since his second year in games played, playing all 82 games in 2018-19, an all-star year and career high in points per game, to struggling physically in 2019-20 on a team with a lot of expectations and a lot of fans counting him out because they don't understand that you're injured, and while you make it look fine in demeanor on the court, you just can't risk performing certain moves and at certain speeds like you used to and injuring yourself further. Whatever the case, since 2019-20, Kemba Walker hasn't grown throughout his prime like many thought he would. This is a guy that usually played, if not all the games, a high number of games every season, to his last 3 years being available becoming his Achilles heel. Seeing him grow from a poor to mediocre freshman in college, average first few years in the league to an all-NBA team was motivating to witness, and at just 29, I didn't expect his decline so soon, and at 31 be out the league, last waived by the Detroit Pistons. What happened to Kemba Walker? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Kemba Walker is listed as a 6-foot point guard from the Bronx, New York that was sort of a late to underrated bloomer, I would say. He once defeated Derrick Rose in high school and got the best of him on ESPN, winning 53-51 in Madison Square Garden. Before that, he didn't even start for Rice High School until his junior year, backing up Edgar Sosa his first 2. His high school teams were usually underrated, but by his senior year, they went on a tear, rated the #1 team in the country by the end of the season, and going 6-0 in the 2007 Arizona Cactus Classic, which was a tournament that featured 32 of the best high school programs. It also happened to be where Brandon Jennings was also going to be at, and he not only held the #1 rated player spot, but was also UConn's prize recruit at point guard ahead of Kemba Walker. And if not for him committing to Arizona, Kemba would have never been a Husky and create the history he did, being called the greatest UConn player ever by the guy who coached them all. Kemba and his team flew through the tournament, and in the championship game against DeMar DeRozan and of course Brandon Jennings, he saw the challenge and seized his opportunity. Jennings had everything Kemba wanted, and in that game, he took his. He won the game, scoring 24 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists to Brandon's 24 points, but shooting 10 for 24 and 1 for 9 from 3. After, it was Jennings' mom who informed UConn Brandon committed to Arizona, and immediately the coaching staff drove to New York to grab the hottest commodity, Kemba Walker, and the rest was history. Stunt number 1, his timing of development. The Hornets. Oh, what fun point guards they've had in the last 20 years. And not to play conspiracy theorists, but there's something about them all having their careers suddenly take a drastic change in direction and it not working out for them in the end. Will LaMelo Ball end up the same way? When Kemba was drafted by the Charlotte Bobcats, he didn't instantly wow the league, averaging a modest 12 points a game in his rookie season, and in the next 3 years, hovering at around 17 points a game and sort of content with how he was growing. The Hornets would bring in a shooting coach in 2015-16, Bruce Kreutzer, who worked with Kemba and even changed his jump shot, to which at first Kemba hated. But that season, he took a huge step forward from 30% from 3 the year before to 37%, doing things different, and from there, he says his life changed. He entered an early prime of teams not being able to guard him anywhere on the floor for the next 3 years. The best 3 years of his career, where he was on superstar level, but his teams were never good and missed the playoffs every season. Charlotte, being an expansion team with all the uprooting history they've had, was also developing slowly and didn't have the players around Kemba that he could strive, but also Kemba came in at 21 years old, finally found his shot at 25, and became an all-star at 26, so all the blame can't go on Charlotte like many say, followed by the question of why he never requested a trade. AKA, he stayed too long in Charlotte and they wasted his prime. But Kemba was just getting comfortable as the player he was for himself and for the team. Also, the difficulty of bringing free agents to Charlotte, like it's probably going to be for LaMelo as well. His development timing versus him being on a young, slow-building team like Charlotte stunted his growth initially. Stunt number 2, his knee failed him in his prime. Most important of reasons Kemba Walker's growth was stunted was because a left knee that failed him early and only got worse. As mentioned, Kemba was an Iron Man in the league, usually playing a full or close to season. His left knee first became a problem back in early 2015, where he tore his meniscus and was ruled out 6 weeks after surgery, which I think is really fast to return from a surgery and maybe the reason his problems never went away. Of course, that first one didn't stop him from becoming an all-star 2 seasons later and 4 straight, but each year since, he would either have surgery on the knee or procedures done to it that all took a toll on his game over time. What made Walker great was his change of direction and shiftiness, change of speed, ability to get low to the ground and stop on dimes. Those knee surgeries and procedures took a lot of that away physically, and I'm sure hurt his confidence mentally in his knee holding up on some of his moves. After Charlotte didn't offer him a max deal, which really hurt and shocked Walker because he loves Charlotte, he took one with the Celtics 2019-20 and made the All-Star team again, even though the knee was troubling him and hindered his performances, having his worst production year since 15-16. In 2021, he wasn't available for the series against Brooklyn, whom they lost to 4-1 because of a bone bruise in the left knee. They traded him to OKC in the offseason, who bought him out, and he then signed with the Knicks, but they too traded him after just 37 games with the team to Detroit, who eventually waived him October 2022. All this because his left knee failed his prime. Stunt number 3, losing position. Being traded, waived, and bought out some multiple times does a lot to a person, period. One in the positions Walker was in, where he was the face of one franchise, key piece in another, underdog trying to reprove himself in NY, and having bottom-feeding teams basically not want you around, I think took the aura away from Kemba Walker. Only he knows if it took some confidence as well, which makes sense after the injuries he's had. But now he's not viewed as the same player he was, who still should be in his prime at 31, 32 years old. Point guards come in younger and much better than when Walker did, so there's really no time to waste on an injury-prone player nowadays, which Kemba has become due to his left knee. He lost position in the league, and now fans and teams themselves have lost confidence. The position he's in now, it'll be hard to get that back, especially with his knee injury history. Will a team sign him again? Probably, but will he ever be Kemba again? Unfortunately, no. All in all, Kemba is still a great player to me. I loved watching him compete as he's cut from that old school cloth of competitiveness, and he was always so much fun to watch in clutch situations or ones his teams has been counted out of all the way back to high school. Had it not been for these reasons, Kemba Walker was headed to a Hall of Fame career. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth, and I'm out.